Has the December 21st winter solstice been on your mind this year? If you are like everybody in the metaphysical, spiritual starseed communities, we know that this date is getting tossed around like crazy. There's a lot of information that seems to be pointing in a multitude of different directions, and we really don't know where to look. I know in my own community inside the Healers Rising Academy, I have had numerous members coming forward asking, like, what impact is this actually going to have on us? What are we going to see on the earth plane? Is it going to change the trajectory of the coronavirus, the governments, the vaccines, all of these things? And so I went into channeling today with the Interstellium Alliance, which many of you guys will feel and understand the resonance of as soon as I begin reading their words. This is a group that I work with and are very fond friends of mine. They step forward in a lot of the healing sessions and a lot of the advocacy work I do. And it's also something that many of you guys may be familiar with under another term, and we'll share that a little bit later in another video. When I went into the Interstellium Alliance, what I wanted to know was, what is the trajectory for humanity? What's coming with this December 21st solstice? What's with all of the hype? Is it true that the Mayan calendar screwed up? Maybe they were dyslexic and now's the time? Is there reaping coming? Their words were so grounded, simple, and easy to digest. And I think they're really, really going to help so many of us just soften into this age of Aquarius with ease instead of all of the apprehension we've been holding. So I'm going to read the transmission for you guys, and then I'm going to share some of the specific questions that came from my community members about things they wanted to know or have heard elsewhere on the internet, and they just wanted clarity on. Okay, here's the transmission. Me. Do you guys have information you can share at this time about the December 21st, 2020 winter solstice? Them. Some, but much is still unwritten, as the days to come depend on the collective actions and momentum with the energy that presents. We can share what might be experienced in the early days and a probability of what is to come if much of the starseeds link and sync back up as they onboard into the age of Aquarius. Me. Thank you. I appreciate your perspectives and all you have to share. Them. To note, the alignment you will see from your skies of the great planets of Saturn and Jupiter are a monumental event that occurs approximately every 20 years in your Earth times, but you have not seen them this closely to your Earth realm in approximately 800 years. This conjunction will be used as a transit point to activate more of the starseeds and to do a mass mission download, as it will be easy to do while many are in the space of awe and hoping to accelerate. So accelerate they will. Oh yes, they will. They will have access to their entire soul if they allow it, and that will be a beautiful thing for the people of Earth. We cannot interfere with the transmissions, and it will be up to each individual to download his or her information accordingly. I can feel a question coming from the humans about how they download this mission drop and the codex that will be available on this day, yes? It will be quite simple. All one must do is go into their meditation or dream state with an open heart about how they will be a better helper tomorrow. When they said better, I felt like I wanted to do this. It seemed a little bit subjective, and perhaps that it really meant, like, how do we become the best versions of ourselves? How do we really honor our yes? How do we move forward? I'll say more about that at the end. Them. In this next age of consciousness to the planet, much information will become accessible, and with all information, there is the promise of great advancement and great destruction. Many of you have been remembering this for years with your interactions within the Atlantean era. The technologies you sourced and activated then are coming back now. This is why the fear current is ripping through the populations. Many of the technologies are not a bad thing, but have been previously used for bad intent. Ultimately, nuclear and atomic technologies were the destruction and demise of much of your populations, and with the promise of those technologies arriving, apprehension is high. In this age of Aquarius, all starseeds must first learn to see the good, find the possibility, the creative potential, and the way that each discovery can be of help or assistance to another being. Each starseed must consider his or her individual actions on the community level to see how they will impact the greater population. If this is the benefit of the all and can be taken widespread, then it should be focused upon as such. If the intent will only be to benefit a few but hurt others, the plan must be collapsed and rewritten. Earth has forgotten its code of conduct, much like we have on this plane and within the various councils you hear of in your Earth plane. Free will is not the intent of the Earth plane. That is a recipe for disaster, as you are now seeing. Self-accountability can only be taken when one is a part of something bigger than oneself. Otherwise, why would one ever consider the actions they would take? The free will complex will be collapsed over the coming Earth years, which will shatter the ideals of many. But if one could remember that instead it is a promise to be a better helper and contributor to all of my fellow people, then one may seem the benefit. This does not mean absolute conformity. This means an individual has expression to explore as they please while being considerate that their actions are not to the destruction of others. This will also be important in finalizing the upgrade schema within your current virus on planet Earth. The day itself, December 21st, will be as magical or not as you make it, bringing yourself into a ritual and the harmonics of what is possible as we truly turn the corner into the next time period for us all within the Milky Way galaxy should be seen as a celebration. Look beyond just welcoming the light. And while it is extra symbolic this year, as the downloads incoming will all be light code, instead, transit out to the dream of the world you wish to see. Imagine the people and their interactions together. Imagine a place where adventure and exploration are encouraged and the stories are told to our friends with great joy and invitation for their own unfoldment. Imagine a space where all people knew their souls so wholly and completely that they were in sync with every day they are gifted on that magnificent place and in love with the world they are participating and being a contribution to. That dream, hold it through this day and the coming days. You will see the magic unfold. End of transmission. Pretty powerful, right? And so simple. How do I be a better helper? How do I be a better version of myself? How do I show up and make sure that the actions I'm taking today are for the benefit of the community tomorrow? This is one of the codes of conduct that exists in so many of our galactic and cosmic brother and sisters collectives that we don't abide by here on planet Earth. We have a false light grid of this idea of what free will and sovereignty is supposed to look like, except we've kind of messed it up. Many of our Earth people end up hurting each other because they believe that it's their choice, and if it feels okay to them, it's okay. But that's not what this space was supposed to be. The original dream for this planet was a transit point where all sorts of starseeds, collectives, and beings could drop into one body, one heart, one movement, and share all of the information, the skills, the talents, and everything they've come across in this vast universe in one hub, one space. And we're moving back to that. Okay, so I have a few questions from our community that I want to share with you guys today, and hopefully this will help just really ground in the rest of the information that's coming over the next couple of days as this alignment gets ready. One of my members wanted to know, how can we include my children in this event? What are some awakening activities I can do with the girls during this alignment? So she really wanted to bring her children into the magic and make sure that they were given the opportunity to come along with these currents as well. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So what they gave to me was bring them to circle, celebrate with them, and remind them of the magic of Yule. A lot of the things you could be doing at this time also from a very human perspective could be things like crafting together, doing like the Advent spirals, doing crystal communication, thinking about how we can support others. I know in our communities, we've been writing Christmas cards and letters, poems, etc. to the seniors who are really alone right now because they aren't allowed visitors with all the current restrictions. My own family has supported others with their Christmases to make sure that nobody is going without, that's in our immediate circle. So look at the ways you can be a better helper and see what your kids are inspired to do. Follow their lead. Kids have such beautiful hearts and they'll know exactly what to do. Just ask. The next question, what does 2021 hold for us as a collective? Them. 2021 has already begun. The energy you feel now the apprehension and unknown is an energy one must learn to align and fall in love with in order to bring about the desired changes. There will be few conclusions or sureties this year, much the same tone as your 2020 Earth year. One must really tune into who they are in the grand scheme of things and find their meaning for this life if they are to find the purpose and meaning of the moments they are about to make. My interpretation as a human from that was that 2021 is not going to be super grounded. It's not going to be predictable. We're not going back to the old get up at night, 7 in the morning, go to work, come home, do the dishes, eat a meal. We're not going back to that. We're coming back into this space of a flow state where we are rewriting how all of humanity goes forward over the next couple thousand years. And so to say that predictability is coming over the next year would be a lie, I think, to everybody, and it's not setting us up for success. I think instead, if we look at how we can start co-creating the dream, what we really want to see, and focusing on that. I mean, in 2020, how many people did you see quit their regular jobs and start up businesses and start up these things that were truly passion projects for them? And instead of being a slave to the system or getting shut down by what was going on, they awoke that inner consciousness and leapt into the unknown, started something, and now they're flying. That is really going to be the theme of 2021. How do you unplug from the systems? How do you step forward? How do you follow your yes? And how do you light your life on fire in support of the bigger picture? Next question. Are other people having really lucid dreams too? Yes. So there are a couple of different dream time things that are happening right now. Some of you guys are really going to be astral traveling because the energy is lightening into the frequency where it's easier for us to access those 6th, 7th, 8th, and above dimensions. And so the visions and the sounds are going to be coming easier to us, and it's easier to transit into those different stargates and belts. However, on the flip side of that, there is something called implant dreams and implant memories that are being projected out into the collective right now. And so if your dreams are coming from a state of extreme fear, or there's things about you having to be really worried about, or like descending into illness, things like this, you're going to want to truth test and check in. Truth, is this a real dream of something I need to track, or was this an imprint dream coming from some of the predictive programs and the waves that are coming out at this time? We have been seeing these waves happen throughout this entire year with certain catchphrases that every single country is using with the current pandemic we're experiencing. And so we need to be aware that these things are being imprinted into our mindscape. And if we're not constantly destroying and uncreating them and making sure that that isn't something we want to hold on to or write as our reality, that we are taking them out and we're not putting too much further effort and time besides a collapse into them. Okay, next question. Can we expect any changes in nature and with the animals as we go through this upcoming shift? I know in my own household, we have 2 cats and a dog, and they have all been experiencing the energy in the same way I have. There's restlessness. They know something is coming. They're feeling a lot more spicy. I'm going to use the word spicy. My cats have been nuts. And so making sure you're giving your animals lots of opportunity for movement and stimulating play, and you're not shutting down those behaviors because they're helping you to transmute the energy. And that's really, really important right now. In terms of tracking forward, I didn't see anything at this time with any major shifts in terms of anything leaving the planet, but I am seeing lots in terms of what we're going to discover on the planet. So don't be surprised if you start seeing things almost on every second week of new species being uncovered, especially in our oceans and deep in our jungles. You're going to see lots of that coming over the couple of years. We do have new species that are coming in, especially lots of hybrids, and we'll talk about that in an upcoming video. The arrival of the hybrids is something we have really been waiting for as starseeds here on this planet. They have a lot of coding to help us bridge the gaps of what we're currently not doing so well with as humans here at this time. How can we best support those who are not yet awakening to the changes coming forth? Oh man, you guys, this is a tough one to answer, but at the end of the day, you don't. We don't hold them. We don't coddle them, we don't drag them with us. What we do is we become the best version of us that we can discover through all of this work, through the downloads we're experiencing, and through everything we know. And through our example and through that ripple of more and more of us coming on board, other people start picking up the clues. Now, I get that it's really tricky when it's your own family or household members that just seem like they are so far out of touch. But don't forget, some of them may be coded and contracted to you through old cords to make sure that you go through this awakening process. So check into your Akashic records, check into those cords and contracts, check into any vows you made together. That'll be really important to identify before we make any projections or judgments on people going forward. One thing we definitely don't want to do, and we all know how well we respond to this, is we're not going door to door knocking, being like, did you know the new age has come? We know that when somebody comes to our door with different religious pamphlets or ideologies, we're not so open to that. And so if we are projecting this into their reality, they're probably not going to receive it either. Instead, we want to live by example of what it really means to be a fully embodied, fully 12th dimensional, fully on board human in this upcoming paradigm shift. And through our ease, through this transition, through us demonstrating what it can look like to just be totally in flow with what's going on, others are going to start picking up those ripples and waves. It will first likely start as jealousy and maybe envy, but then they will start asking those important questions and they will come along too. Truly, nobody is getting left behind. They're only staying there if they want to. So don't make yourself the savior. Instead, I say lead by example, and you'll watch how your whole community will change. This was an interesting question. I've seen lots about this on the internet, even some stuff coming from NASA recently. One of our members asked, will there be anything big happening on the 21st in terms of obvious noticeability for all of humanity, like a sound wave heard by all or a beam of light? Okay, so I had to I can't talk now. I had to channel this answer because I had my own projections and stories about what I perceived it was going to be. And so I had to go back to the Interstellium Alliance and be like, okay, you guys, is there anything going on? And this is what they had to say. Some highly attuned individuals may hear a crack in the skies as if a great thunder or lightning bolt has ripped through the ethers. This sound is not going to be audible to all ears and likely will be picked up by very few. Your skies are taking on the most beautiful colors at sunrise and sunset. Pay attention to this in the coming days. Your northern lights will dance for those days in the most brilliant hues of color. Marvel at them. The darkness being spoken about is not of a universal design and should be disregarded at this time. So that's what they had to share. I hope that answers the question. Okay, I think the last one we're going to talk about on this energy update for today, and we do have more videos to come, is going to be the conversation around this. Here's the question. I heard something about a full transition into 5D consciousness worldwide on December 21st. Any insights on that? We already have access to 5D consciousness. In fact, we have had access to it the whole time. People have forgotten that our bodies are multidimensional, which means that we are reading and emitting multiple different types of frequencies at any given moment. The human body itself is coded to the first 12 dimensions, which means that we can deal with everything from actual physical matter out into a 12th dimensional frequency, which is kind of like a geodesic dome filled with everything we ever were and ever will be, and all the knowledge and those pieces put together. And so the fifth dimension is not something we're stepping into. It's more people are remembering that they have the ability to see beyond self. Inside the fifth dimension, this is where we experience the different levels of truth, and that we have an individual level of truth, but there's also a community or our circle level of truth, and then there's a collective level. And so in the fifth dimension, we're able to start reading and seeing where things fall on that spectrum and how different levels of the game are going to also be seeing this information. In the fifth, we also tend to read things from that bird's eye view, from this viewpoint. So our Akashic records are built and stored as fourth dimensional frequency. And the fifth dimension is where we're able to view it, read it, and reconcile it from. So we will see more humans starting to remember this, but it's not because we're stepping into 5D with the Age of Aquarius. In fact, with the Age of Aquarius, the activations that are coming are more for people to start reactivating their sixth, seventh, and eighth dimensional lenses, which have all to do with sound and light, so that they can start bringing in all of the light codes and the sound waves that are here to help us transform and evolve these bodies and what we're currently experiencing on this earth plane. If anything, everybody who's just catching up to the fifth, I'm lovingly going to say, is a little bit behind the frequencies. Like they're probably just coming out of the Bardos and the Akashics and starting to realize that they are more than just a human body. This is something we will also keep sharing and teaching about, because I know this concept is quite huge and not enough of us are talking about how these dimensions all work and weave and speak together. But yes, we're not stepping into the fifth dimension, although there will be more of humanity that starts reading information from that frequency. Instead, we're going to see much more of humanity, the ones who have been really stuck in those karmic wheels, downloading more on the sixth, seventh, eighth dimensional planes. So we'll see more telepathy, we'll see more clairvoyance, more clairaudience. We're going to see more people getting like spontaneous, creatively ideas. We're going to see more people who are stepping out of the old paradigms and grids and education systems. We're going to see things where people start going, well, how can we as a community build this beautiful vision? And that is all coming because we're starting to re-link up to more of our source code and what else is possible outside of just this earth plane. I hope that helps you guys get to know what's coming in the coming days. Inside Healers Rising Academy, of course, we're gathering on December 21st. We're going to go through our own ritual, and I will guide you guys through a beautiful quantum meditation where we're going to really envision the world we want to see and go through our own self-reflection of the things that we've already accomplished over 2020 and what we know as a soul, as this essence we want to step into for 2021. For all of you guys watching or listening to this on the podcast or YouTube, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week for the next installment of these conversations in consciousness.